Hello Primary 6-7, it's Mr. Kelly. Now today's task, we're going to need a rubber, a pen, pencil, paintbrush and a glass of water. Now we also need some card, so make sure it's not paper because this is going to be a bit too thin, so let's use card. The other thing is for the pen, make sure it's one of the gel pens, not a biro one, so that the ink can run on the water. You'll see more about that soon. Now this type of artwork works best for under the sea, so think about fish or different creatures that you'd find under the sea. I just googled this one. We'll start off with some light sketching. Now you'll see that I'm just doing the outline of the fish, not going into any detail, and you'll see all of the brushes with the pencil are very light, just in case I make a mistake, so I can go back and rub it out. Now that I've got the outline of the fish, I'm going to put in little bits of detail. Nothing huge, just I'm going to put in the eye, some of the gills, and then make sure that I've outlined where the fins and the mouth will be. I'm not going into fine detail with these, just a rough outline. Now for the more exciting part. With the gel pen, I'm leaning relatively hard and getting a lot of ink, and I'm doing a sort of outline of the head. And you'll see once I've got that outline, I'm then going to go and get some water on a paintbrush. Now be very careful, make sure there's not too much because you'll end up making a hole into the card. Lightly brush the water, and then with the smallest of touches, apply it onto the ink. You'll see that the ink starts to run and bleeds across the page, and this gives it a nice sort of watery, under the sea effect. And now do this for all of the fish head. One thing to be very careful about is when the ink has ran, don't go back over it with the gel pen, because that might affect the ink on the gel pen. So always apply the gel pen only to dry parts of the paper. You'll see this more clear as I start to work on the scales. Now the scales is quite simple, almost like just diamond after diamond pattern. And I'll do a collection of only maybe 4 or 5 of the scales, then I apply a small bit of the water. If I don't apply the water straight away, the ink will dry up and it won't bleed and it won't spread to get that nice effect. So don't go ahead and do all of the scales, because by the time it comes to putting on the water, it'll have dried up and we'll lose the nice water effect. Now that we're finished with the scales, it's time to work on the fins. Now the fins, you use a similar technique to the scales, where we're just going to apply 2 rather thick amounts of wet ink onto the fins, and then once we've got those 2 lines drawn out, again with a small amount of water, we spread that round. And we're going to do that for all the different fins. Now don't worry about getting some of that onto the scales, that actually adds to the effect. So you see at times I brush the different bits of ink on top of the scales. Now the last part, the eye. I left the eye empty so that no ink would run in it beforehand. Take your time with that eye. If we don't get the eye right, it might not look quite perfect. And there we have it, your catch of the day. Work hard, and I'm sure it'll look fantastic. Good luck, Primary 6-7.